Hello everybody on the internet, YouTube, welcome back to my channel. I am Addict and today we are back with another speed build because apparently this is all I have time to record these days. How are you guys going? Good to see you. Welcome back. And welcome back to Hansen River. So this neighborhood is of course my very special off-camera Build City Challenge neighborhood, and I have been playing this neighborhood fairly regularly at the moment. It's like I've just got my son to bed treat kind of thing and stuff. And I needed to build a house for a particular sim, and I wanted to build one down by the waterfront, down by the riverfront, on a pretty sort of tricky lot because it is quite slopey, quite heavy terrain. Modification was needed, and I wanted to do something fun with a walkout basement, and I wanted to do something fun with the terrain and sort of work with slopey terrain in The Sims 2, which is not something that I tend to do very often because terrain in The Sims 2 can be a little bit of a pain in the backside. But you can kind of see me here working on the walkout basement. So it's got a foundation and then it's got a basement built into the foundation, and this whole house was based on, of course, a floor plan that I found online because I have no imagination or original thoughts. So when I need to build a house, I find a floor plan online and I go, that looks pretty. I'm gonna try to recreate this in The Sims, which honestly I find to be quite enjoyable. So, you know, judge me if you will, but I quite enjoy it. And I did end up sort of changing up the floor plan a little, as I always tend to have to do, and I had to rebuild the floor plan quite a few times because it just was tricky to work with and tricky to get right, I guess. So you will see me a couple of times throughout this video kind of redo sections of the floor plan, particularly the deck out the front was quite tricky to get right. And then you can see at the moment there's stairs leading down off the deck over there on the right hand side of the deck, and then eventually I actually decided to move those stairs over to the left hand side of the deck because I wanted to put in a driveway, and I thought it would make more sense if the stairs were next to the driveway rather than over the other side of the lot. I don't know, whatever. But yeah, so basically this home is for a sim named Deborah Long. So basically she married Benjamin Long a long time ago. Oh, here I am going, oh my god, I need to shrink this whole build by one tile, no. So here we go, redoing the floor plan for the first time, or the second time maybe. I don't even know. I've lost track already. But yeah, so Deborah Long, she married Benjamin Long, who is a very sort of, I think, well-known Pleasant View townie. He's got those ugly shorts with long socks and a very long nose. And they had a son, and basically they've just never had a very happy marriage. And in my most recent round with the Long family, spoiler alert for my Patreon supporters, because well, the post has gone up now, but if you haven't read it, this might be a bit of a spoiler alert. Yeah, they actually split up in our last gameplay round, finally. It's been a long time coming, honestly, for these two Sims. They've had a very unhappy marriage together, and now that their son, Miles, is all grown up and starting his own life, he's sort of gotten engaged to his long-term girlfriend, and he's going to be doing his own thing, and they've been fighting a lot and everything, and they just decided, well, Deborah just decided it was time to call it quits, part ways. And Benjamin, who is a secondary romance sim with commitment issues, is actually not too upset about that himself either, to be perfectly honest. So yeah, Deborah wanted to have her very own space finally, and she wanted a house which was very open and spacious because the house that she had been living in had always been kind of a bit tight and pokey, I would say, and she wanted something a bit more luxurious. She is a level 9 entertainer. She should be getting promoted up to level 10 soon if I have my way, which I usually do with my Sims. But yeah, she's a level 9 entertainer, so she's actually like a fairly famous sim, and I felt like it made sense for Deborah to have quite a nice house. It's not actually the biggest house because despite being a level 9 entertainer, she's never actually had that much money. Oh, here I am playing with constrained floor elevation to try to make that wall work with those windows. It took me a few goes, but I did get it right. Yeah, she's never actually had that much money owing to her husband's secret debt. and he's been sort of pilfering her money to help repay his debt. So that was one of the reasons they broke up. But yeah, she had about 20,000 simoleons in savings, and then she took out a loan for an extra 20,000 simoleons to actually buy and furnish this house, which she should be able to pay back pretty quickly, honestly. And so yeah, but that meant I couldn't actually go too crazy with making it really big and fancy, but I wanted something that looked a little bit exclusive and a little bit private. And the area of Hansen River that I've built this house in has previously not had any lots built in it. It's right down by the waterfront. In my head canon, it's kind of like really prime real estate, and would be like, the land itself would have cost a fair bit of money too, so you don't want to build necessarily a massive house on that because you might not be able to afford it. So yeah, it's only like 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom, but it does have a very large downstairs basement area, which is, I did succeed in making a walkout basement, so I thought I was quite proud of that. I never actually tried to do that before, but it turned out really well. Yeah, so it has the basement, it's got 2 bedrooms, it's got a very large open plan, spacious sort of kitchen, dining, living room area, but that's it. And Deborah doesn't really need anything more than that. She's actually quite an old sim. She is going to be aging up to an elder in like 4 days, I think, when I left her. So this is a place for her to live out the rest of her career life and then her retirement in peace and tranquility and relative privacy. But of course she is also a popularity sim, so she's probably going to have a few parties and invite some friends over, I guess. Now here's what I was talking about before, where I was like, oh wait a minute, it would be cool to have a driveway over here. Let's switch the stairs to the other side of the lot and put in a driveway. Now you will notice that because driveways in The Sims 2 need to be flat unless you use a bit of constrained floor elevation, which I do, this left me with a huge sort of cutout space that I needed to deal with. So I decided to use some retaining walls by the very talented Lord Crumps. These are available for download on his website, and I decided to put in these really nice retaining wall objects that he has made to kind of hide the tearing in the terrain. They almost fit perfectly, and then I was like, okay, I just need to raise up the terrain by like 1 click. So you can actually, if you put the driveway down first and then turn on constrained floor elevation sheet, so constrained floor elevation false, you can sort of see me doing it here. You can actually edit the terrain underneath the driveway, and the driveway will still function and it'll still be there. And then so you can see me here like practicing placing a car there because Deborah has a car. It does function, and the sim can still drive in and out of the driveway. So that's a good tip if you sort of are familiar with fiddling with constrained floor elevation a little bit. You can actually create sloped driveways. Good old James Turner, formerly known as the Sim Supply, he actually had a whole like tutorial video on using constrained floor elevation to create sloped driveways in The Sims 3. The Sims 3's constrained floor elevation sheet was actually a little bit more, I would say, like advanced than The Sims 2's constrained floor elevation sheet. Sorry, I'm really struggling to say that over and over and over again. But yeah, you actually could do a little bit more with it in that game, but it is still possible to do it in The Sims 2. So you might be able to find that video if you search for it. I'm not sure. It's probably still there somewhere on James's channel. Not sure. But yeah, so I was sort of playing around with a bit of terrain paint, and then just decided to hide all of the terrain ugliness with these beautiful retaining wall objects. And eventually I also fill them with plants and make them into sort of these really nice planter boxes, which just really made me happy, and I thought it looked really nice. The other thing with the basement, which I should mention, is you could actually also expand the basement to fit more rooms downstairs in this house. So I kind of figure if one day down the track I want a larger family to move in here and live here, I do have a little bit of room to play with. I do have the option of expanding the basement area to include some extra bedrooms or something along those lines. The trick would be getting windows in there, which I should be able to do, but yeah. So in terms of like the color scheme for this lot and the general feel, I did want a lot of wooden vibes, a lot of sort of like natural tones, earthy tones. Deborah's favorite color is green. So I wanted a lot of green and wood to offset the beautiful riverfront view. And then we also end up using a fair bit of cream on the upstairs walls, but it did take me a lot of like fiddling around and trying out a lot of different wallpaper textures and wallpaper patterns to actually decide on what I wanted to use. I was quite indecisive for a lot of this build and I ended up changing it quite a few times. I built the lot and then I moved Deborah in, and then I ended up redecorating a lot of the lot because it was in a different gameplay session. So I've mentioned this a few times, but I play in very small sort of gameplay sections. Is that the right word? At the moment, because it's sort of for an hour or two at night when I have the opportunity. So yeah, I stayed up very late. I stayed up way too late one night building this lot, and then and the next night I sort of actually moved Deborah in, and looking at the lot with fresh eyes definitely inspired me to make a couple of changes to the decor. Which I do recommend doing actually. Like if you do it working on a build and you're sort of getting a bit tired, you'll be working at it for a while, definitely take a break, come back to it and look at it with fresh eyes, because I end up very happy with this lot and very happy with how it looks. I think it's beautiful. I would actually really love to stay here on like vacation. To live here would be a dream, but even just to stay here on vacation would be absolutely like a dream come true for me. But yeah, it took me a long time to actually like figure out all the decor and everything to get to that point, and to get to that point where I was very happy with it. I did change things quite often. Here I am starting work on the kitchen counters. I use the Spatia kitchen, which I believe is by Beautiful Nerd Kitty. Could be wrong about that, but it's a really nice kitchen which I have slaved to Buggy Boo's Kitchen Basic. So all my recolors for Kitchen Basic also apply to this one, which is always really nice. And I love kitchens that come with these little objects that I've just put in here. They're like half-size counters. So handy. Yeah, really like that. So originally I went with these wooden countertops and white cabinets. And then when I come in and sort of redecorate the lot a bit, I do end up actually changing this to be wooden cabinets with I think stone countertops, but I can't quite remember. We'll see. It's actually been a few weeks as well since I did this build, so I don't completely remember what I did. Oh my gosh, I wish there was a better way in The Sims 2 to create island counters with sinks in them. And I personally know of a few modders who have tried to make it possible and not been successful. So I know that people have tried and it's just really difficult in The Sims 2, but oh my gosh, that would be so good if we could have better island counters. Dreams, you lucky Sims 4 players with your terrible game but your proper island counters. Dearie me. And then yeah, we put in some overhead cabinets as well, which always make a kitchen look a little bit more complete. And then a little bit of a smoke alarm there, because I've finally unlocked the ability to put smoke alarms into my homes in The Sims, in this Build a City challenge, which took me way longer than it otherwise would have, because I'm weird and I'd like to make the game harder for myself, which I have said a few times, I believe, on my channel as well. But I had a rule that I had to have a fire station lot established in the neighborhood in order to install fire alarms in my Sims homes. And it took us a while to get that fire station placed. Yeah. Here I am just putting some paint in the bedrooms. This is just sort of a basic coat of the green. So bringing in that green that I wanted to bring in, I mentioned at the start of the video. And then I do end up repainting some of the rooms once Deborah moves in and I start actually furnishing and decorating the lot too. Yes, and I think I end up keeping the wood floors in the bedrooms and just using rugs. I can't remember if I put down, if I put down carpet or not. Then we of course go to nighttime so we can do the lights. Very good tip as well, of course, if you are playing The Sims 2 and you're doing a build, go to nighttime before you place down the first light in your build, and then the lights will all light up. If you place the first light during daytime, then the lights won't light up. I don't know if that makes sense, but oh, and here I noticed, yeah, that my little roof windows had gotten a bit glitched out and gone a bit khaki-wampus, so I had to go ahead and fix those again, which was a bit of a pain in the butt. Yeah, you can see them there just having a hard time actually sitting in the windows properly. So to put windows in roof walls like this is not super simple. You've got to use move objects on, place the windows first, and then after the fact you drag the wall through. And yeah, it's a bit of a pain in the butt. So when I saw that they had glitched out, I was a little bit upset. Oh, and here I sort of put in a few little downlights underneath the cabinets because I thought that was a nice touch as well. Just a little bit of extra lighting for the kitchen bench. And then yeah, added a lot of wall lights to the living space because this is actually a vaulted ceiling. So in the living room and kitchen and dining room area, the ceiling is open, so it didn't make sense to have roof lights in that area. Whereas in those back rooms, like the 2 bedrooms and the bathroom, I do have a ceiling there. But yeah, that main room is open to the heavens, so we get all the lovely natural light flowing in from the roof windows. Yep, so here we're just jumping into put basic plumbing into the bathrooms. So when I do a build, I always put in basic plumbing in bathrooms, and I always put in the kitchen, so kitchen cabinets and fixtures, because that tends to be how you get homes here in Australia, at least. When a build is finished, it'll usually have the cabinetry and the plumbing installed and fixtures for the kitchen. So that's why I did that. This little room here, this funny little area that you're looking at here, this is a walk-in closet. So this is really cool, and I sort of started decorating it there, and then I stopped because I realized that I needed to check how much money Deborah would actually have to furnish her closet. But I put in the woodwork for it. And then yeah, here we've gone back outside just to do a little bit more work on the landscaping. So as I mentioned, I wanted to fill these little retaining wall boxes with plants to make them into planter boxes, and I play around with a few different plants before eventually landing on the outcome or the plants, the look that I was going for. And I've just sort of made a little cut here and skipped ahead in time a little bit because it was very tedious, and then I end up changing all of these plants out later anyway. But I wanted it to be a little bit leafy and a little bit green, but I also wanted it to look quite low maintenance because Deborah is not a garden sim. She's not someone who would want to take a lot of care of her garden plants, I don't think. So yeah, but basically I just use shift everything, as you can see here. Here we go. Now I'm going to replace these plants yet again, but this is the final time I replace plants. Yeah, I use shift everything, which is a genius mod. Everyone should have it. If you don't have it, it's by Lamar. You can download it at Mod The Sims. There's also links to it on Lamar's Tumblr here on Tumblr. So yeah, just use shift everything to shift those plants up into the right spot in those beautiful retaining wall boxes. Absolutely love those objects. They are so nice. Oh, and here we have Deborah and her dog Webster. So here are the Sims. They have moved into their house, and they are going. I'm going to be furnishing the lot now, but you can sort of see this is how the build turned out. I did also add a back fence. I played around with sort of landscaping the whole backyard and putting in a lot more retaining walls into that backyard, but it ended up being more than Deborah could afford. But when I was creating the retaining walls with Lord Crumps, the ones that are slaved to nooks and niches, we decided to make them quite expensive because in real life, in my real house, we have had to put in a lot of retaining walls, and real retaining walls cost quite a bit of money, as it turns out. So yeah, but here I am. I started furnishing the spare bedroom to start with. So this is a spare bedroom / office for Deborah. So I wanted it to be quite cozy. So again, just trying to stick with these sort of like earthy tones, browns, greens, and leaves, and those kinds of vibes. And yeah, just decided to use that bed there. I think that's from Blake Boy's plantation set, or one of Blake Boy's sets anyway. Put in a few blinds for privacy, of course, and a few curtains, put in that fun brown wallpaper. But yeah, I wanted this room to just have a little bed in it in case anyone wants to come and stay. I'm imagining that her son Miles and his wife are probably going to have children in the future, so maybe, you know, she could have her grandchild come and stay for a little while. And then yeah, put in a little desk and computer area for her too. I did have to fiddle around with the layout in here a little bit because it was quite a small room. I didn't have a lot of room to play with. And then I did also, yeah, have to have her take out a loan to actually be able to afford to furnish the house. I did think it was kind of ironic that she took out a loan to furnish her house when one of the reasons she broke up with her husband was because he had secretly taken out lots of loans. I was like, But I think the problem there was that it was secret and that he'd been sort of using her money to repay those loans, to repay his debts. Which, you know, would probably piss me off too if my husband did that. Oh dear, my son has just woken up from his nap. I probably need to go and get him. Alrighty, there's now a baby in here, so if you hear strange noises, squealing, stomping, or playing with things, it is a little 14-month-old on the floor. But anyway, that's fine. So where were we? Okay, furnishing the spare room. Yes. So, yeah, this is just a very basic, very small room. Sorry if you just heard my husband sneeze in the background. Very basic, very small room. I tried to put some plants in here, make it, you know, look a little bit nice. I imagine that Deborah likes indoor plants, but maybe just not so much outdoor plants. And then the bathroom, I just added in a mirror, and then I decided that washing machine that I'd put in there was too ugly, and I wanted some more space in there for I guess pretty things. So I decided to actually move the washing machine downstairs and create a little laundry closet, which I have done in builds before, and I really like it. I think it looks really cute. And then yeah, in the corner here I decided to put in this lovely little stuff holder, which is a conversion from The Sims 4, and we put a plant on top of that because it looks nice. Obviously. Yes, and here's the wardrobe, and I started having a lot of fun pulling out all of my decorative clothing and shoes and filling up the wardrobe with all sorts of everything, and then partway through doing this I realized that all of these little individual items that I was placing in here, all of the decorative clothes, were actually costing way too much money. So in the end I wasn't able to finish actually furnishing this wardrobe, filling it up with clothes. Yeah, that's my son. Just because it was too expensive, and I was like, oh damn, Deborah's gonna have to save up a little bit more money to buy decorative clothes that don't actually function. I don't know, I thought that was just funny, you know, Sims problems. I probably could also edit these objects because like they're quite expensive, and I feel like for decorative pieces of clothing you don't really want your Sim paying like $75 a pop, which is what those things cost or something around there. So I could also do that and make them cost like 1 simoleon each. That would also be a good option. But anyway, yeah, I did a little bit of furnishing in here and then called it good. Oh yes, and I replaced that piece with... Hello, buddy. I replaced this piece with shelving, so I could fit some more like folded clothes and shoes and bags and that kind of thing. I do imagine that Deborah, as a near celebrity, would probably have quite an extensive wardrobe, which is why I gave her this beautiful oversized built-in wardrobe in the first place. But yeah, it was hard to fill it up. And then this is actually her master bedroom. So again, it is quite small. It's definitely not the biggest master bedroom in the world, but it does the job, so we're good with it. That bed is a beautiful conversion from The Sims 4 again. I'm currently kind of obsessed with 4:2 beds. Someone, I can't remember who, I think it's Simsco on Tumblr, is converting a lot of the Peacemaker IC content from The Sims 4, and Peacemaker IC is my favorite, or one of my favorite Sims 4 custom content creators, so to have that stuff converted into The Sims 2 is like, yes please, don't mind if I do. But yeah, that one's the mid-century abode bed frame, so you can find that on Tumblr. Really nice one. And then I use some pillows that are slave to Maxis bedding, which is really nice. And then I decided to actually put in a feature wall, also one of my obsessions. Feature walls, love them. So I decided to put a feature wall in behind the bed in a beautiful sort of like floral wallpaper. just keeping in with that nature theme, naturals theme. We also have to put the dog bed in here, of course. I change it out for the a pet basket, I think. No, I don't. Never mind. But we're gonna have room for Webster in the bedroom too. But yeah, I thought the room was just a little bit plain, so I have a look through all of my wallpapers and I decide on a beautiful floral wallpaper feature wall for behind the bed, that one there. And then I was like, oh, it clashes with the pillows, so I changed the pillows. But I was really happy with how that turned out. I thought it looked really nice. And then I decided to put a statement art piece up on the wall over here. I wanted something a bit wacky and weird. So I have a look through the recolors for this particular art piece and I find this one that's a man with a deer head, and I just thought that was really quite funny and something Deborah would want in her house after her relationship with Benjamin Long went so badly, because, you know, he is a bit of a dill. A dill? Yeah, a dill. That's what I'll go with. Anyway, right, putting in the dining suite here. I end up using that rather expensive table. It was probably a little bit too expensive, more expensive than Deborah could really afford, but we splurged on it because, you know, I do want her house to be fancy. Not overly big, but fancy. I guess that's the vibes I was going for. And I didn't mention it before, but you can sort of see there the cream interior wall that I ended up putting in, just to break up some of those wood tones, that because I felt like the wood tones were a little overwhelming and a little too much. Peacemaker's sofas in there, beautiful. That's my other obsession, is 4-2 couches. Love them, especially if they're Peacemaker ones. What'd you do, bud? You're right. And then a beautiful big rug to fill the space, and we end up putting a console TV table under the TV as well. I wanted to put in a coffee table too, but I don't know, I wasn't sure if it took up too much space and interrupted the flow of the room too much. Oh yeah, there's that little closet space that I end up making for the laundry, and it ends up being a whole thing because of course it was a piece of basement, so then I had to remove that piece of basement and replace it, and then I had to fix the deck because the deck got bugged out. So yeah, that was a whole thing, but I basically just used these decorative cabinet doors to hide it in there, and in my imagination, so the Sims can still interact with those things behind the cabinet doors. They're just decorative. Right, and then I also put a stage in the basement, which you see me doing here, and that is because Deborah is an entertainer. She is a comedian, and she's had this microphone object for quite some time, and yeah, I thought it would be fun for her to have a stage downstairs in the basement where she can practice her comedy routines and things like that. It just, I don't know, it just tickled me a little bit. So, you know, this is Deborah's house, and if Deborah wants a stage in her basement, Deborah can have a stage in her basement. And I imagine her inviting friends and neighbors over to watch comedy and be entertained and stuff, so I put a couple of beanbags down there. I was starting to run quite low on money at this point, so I couldn't do as much with this stage area or with the basement in general as I wanted to, but it did turn out okay. So I'm just having a little fly through of the lot, just to have a look at things, see how we're sitting, making sure all the walls are painted correctly, making sure every room has a ceiling that I want to have a ceiling, which a couple of them didn't, so I fixed up that. And then the last thing I do here in the video is we do clutter up the kitchen a little bit. Hello. Yeah. Yes, so I go ahead and pull out a bunch of kitchen decorative items. Hello, do you want to come up? Kitchen decorative items that just make the kitchen look and feel a little bit more lived in. And I was happy with that addition to the house. I've got a little dude here who really wants to touch my keyboard. You cannot touch Mummy's keyboard. No, 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 you can't. Still always trying to get better at my clutter game. But the problem I had with this lot, I would have cluttered it up a lot more, but the problem I had with this lot was, of course, we were on a budget, and we actually had run out of money. Also, the eagle-eyed of you will notice that the oven is not the right wood texture. The bit of wood surrounding the stove is not the right wood texture, and I do fix that. I don't think I recorded it, but I did fix it off camera. What are you laughing at, huh? Who's Mummy talking to? So yeah, just some pots and pans, some mugs, some wine glasses. I imagine that Deborah probably actually drinks quite a bit of wine. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the kitchen and pretty much it for the build. So in a minute we will jump into some lovely screenshots. But I really was enjoyed this build quite a lot. I'm really excited to play in this lot and just, yeah, have Deborah invite over all her friends and have lots of parties and have lots of fun. Sorry, I'm talking to my kid. So here's how it turned out. This is the sort of like living space, kitchen space, dining space. And I loved the open plan. I thought it really suited Deborah and her personality. That is a sim blender plant, just chilling there, by the way. Here's the office with Deborah still sitting at her computer after doing her banking to afford to furnish her lot. Her master bedroom too. And in a second, yep, there's the weird painting with the man with the deer head. I don't know, it seemed like something Deborah would enjoy. The closet, looking a little sparse, but we'll fill that up eventually. Her lovely bathroom. Really enjoyed using that Maxis mirror there too. I thought it was quite nice. And the basement. But of course, by far my favorite part of this lot is actually the view, which I haven't really showed yet. So here you go. Can you imagine waking up to that every morning? Yes, please. So that is lovely Hansen River. And that is the lot for today. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this build. If you did, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up. And then you can also, of course, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you get notified when I upload more videos. Thank you so much, as always, for watching. Thank you so much to my Patreon supporters. And yes, if you haven't checked out the latest Patreon post that went live on Friday night, please do, because that is where you will see the story that went into the creation of this lot. But thank you all so much for your love and support. It really means the world to me, and I appreciate you all so much. Everybody take care, have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.